Chapter 1105. Why are you guys all looking at me? Suyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Would he be able to have dinner with these guys in the future? Don't you want to see it? Tang Chuan asked with a smile. Just admit it, we won't laugh at you, Wei Liao added. Okay, I want to see it, Suyu finally admitted. 100 yuan. Jiang Xiaowei gestured with her hand. What the you want money? Suyu was dumbfounded. Of course, there's no free lunch in this world. If you say that, then I won't be happy. If you want money, then I'll. Suyu paused. Everyone thought that Suyu was very stubborn. Was he so angry that he didn't want to see it? Was he able to resist the temptation of seeing Huamin's selfies? However, Suyu said, I just want to ask if there's any room for negotiation. 100 yuan is too expensive, how about 80 yuan? Lord Su, you're so stubborn. I thought you said you didn't want to see it. Tang Chuan laughed maniacally. I thought so too. Who knew you'd make such a huge plot twist? Wei Liao laughed. You get what you pay for. If you want 80 yuan, then I'll have to mosaic Huamian's face, Jiang Xiaowei said word for word. Sis-in-law, you're so ruthless, I'm kneeling. Tang Chuan admired Jiang Xiaowei. He was so impressed that he wanted to prostrate himself before her. If she could say something like that, then she was no ordinary person. My wife is so mighty and domineering. Wei Liao gave her a thumbs up. Suyu took out his wallet and took 5 selfies for her. Then he said generously, I'll give you 500 yuan. Let me see this one first. If you have any more selfies, send them to me. Godly tycoon. Jiang Xiaowei was overjoyed as she passed the phone to him. Suyu picked it up and looked at his WeChat moments. It was a selfie that Huamin had just posted. It was taken in the car. She seemed to be in a good mood because Huamin was not a narcissist and would not post it often. Therefore, the occasional shot would make people's eyes light up. The temperature in the car should be very high. Huamin was only wearing a furry beige sweater. Both sides of her hair were braided with neat bangs. She looked especially cute, like a cherry ball. Because she didn't wear any makeup, she gave people a very comfortable feeling. Suyu seemed to really like this photo and couldn't put it down. He couldn't say anything to Jiang Xiaowei, so he immediately saved it. Then he had Jiang Xiaowei send it to his WeChat. Lord Su, seeing you like this makes my heart ache. This is a socialist society, let me tell you, otherwise, if we were in ancient times, I would definitely bring a bunch of bandits to kidnap Huamin and make her your wife. Fuck off, I'm not the king of a mountain. Suyu laughed. Actually, everyone knew about Suyu's feelings for Huamin. Jiang Xiaowei occasionally sent Suyu benefits, not to tease him or mock him. She also wasn't trying to scam him out of money. She just felt bad for Suyu. Huamin was bored in the car with Zhu Lingling, Gao Ran, and the others. The 4 of them started chatting in the WeChat group. Qin Chu drove the Maybach while Huamin sat in the passenger seat. Gao Ran drove the Jaguar while Zhu Lingling sat in the passenger seat. The 2 cars were very close to each other, one in front and one behind. Then they could tease each other through WeChat. Therefore, the drive was very interesting. When Gao Ran pretended to reach out for water, he purposely touched Zhu Lingling's hand. She instinctively avoided his touch. Gao Ran immediately complained, Fuck, Zhu Lingling, what do you mean? Will it kill you to hold hands? Chapter 1106. Bullshit, how would I know that you were going to hold my hand? I thought you were going to get water and I was going to stop you, Zhu Lingling retorted. Qin Chu and Huamin laughed so hard that their stomachs hurt. We're just on the road and you guys are already holding hands. Are we going to have car sex in less than 5 kilometers? Huamin asked on purpose. Gao Ran was speechless. Zhu Lingling said, Huamin, you've become dirty. I learned it from Mr. Qin, Huamin said proudly. Honey, don't you feel bad for making me your scapegoat? Aren't you embarrassed? When I married you, I wanted you to be my scapegoat or something. Fine, I admit defeat, but can I do it 2 more times tonight as compensation for being the scapegoat? Mr. Qin asked in all seriousness. This time, it was the couple's turn to burst into laughter. The 4 of them chatted and laughed along the way. When they arrived at the hotel, they immediately checked in. Every time they saw the Mian Hotel, Huamin could feel Qin Chu's deep love for him. The hotel manager reserved 2 presidential suites for the 4 of them. The rest of the hotel rooms were all filled with GK's employees. Of course, this time, Jiang Linyue came as well. This was her only chance to come to Yunding Mountain and see Qin Chu. GK's annual end-of-year celebration was to give out bonuses to the employees. When Qin Chu's father was still in charge, it was simpler and more straightforward. Now that Qin Chu took over, he didn't think of anything new. Therefore, he planned this employee celebration half a month in advance and used it as a form of entertainment. It was a good opportunity for everyone to relax, relieve some stress, and come up with a special topic for the project. It would be published in newspapers and major media outlets, and it would also promote the resort, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Needless to say, Qin Chu was very business-minded. I didn't think that winter here could be so beautiful. The moment they got out of the car, Huamin was mesmerized by the snowy scenery. Because there were many mountain ranges in Mount Yunding, it was a magnificent sight even in winter. If you like, we can stay for a few more days. Qin Chu looked at her gently. No, it's the end of the year and you have a lot of things to do. We can stay for 2 days and leave after the meeting. We'll come back when we have time. Huamin wasn't a capricious person and wouldn't ask Qin Chu to do everything for him. This made Qin Chu even more. President Qin, dinner will be served in 15 minutes. Would you like to eat alone or with everyone in the Magnolia Hall? The hotel manager asked carefully. Honey, what do you think? Qin Chu asked. Then let's eat together, Qin Chu ordered. Okay, President Qin. In 15 minutes, you and Mrs. Qin must go to the Magnolia Hall for dinner. I will reserve a table of food and drinks for you, Mrs. Qin, and your friends. Then, the manager went downstairs. Huamin and Qin Chu changed into formal wear and suits. 15 minutes later, they went downstairs with Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling. They didn't know until they saw it, but they were shocked. There were more than 100 tables in the Magnolia Hall. They heard that there were more than 1,000 people at this employee meeting. My God, it's so spectacular. There are so many people. It's like the Spring Festival Gala, Gao Ran exclaimed. Not everyone is here yet. There are still a few people on duty. Otherwise, there would be more people here, Qin Chu replied with a smile. The 4 of them walked to the center table and sat down. Hello, President Qin. Hello, a young lady. People greeted them along the way. When they sat down, Zhu Lingling looked at the dishes on the table and almost drooled. There were a total of 20 dishes, all of which were exquisite. There were seafood, staples, and many stir-fried dishes. Before they could say anything, Jiang Linyue, who was wearing an emerald evening gown, suddenly walked over. With a glass of wine in her hand, she smiled at Huamin and said, Thank you, a young lady, for taking care of me and promoting me over the past few months. I'd like to propose a toast to a young lady. Then she downed her glass. Huamin looked at Jiang Linyue with a complicated expression and didn't say anything. Chapter 1107. You're too kind. Director Jiang, you're so capable, it's a waste of your talent to stay in the design department. You'll only be able to realize your potential if you work at a branch company. I'm also different from everyone else. If it were another female employee, they wouldn't even have this opportunity. So, Director Jiang, sometimes you're a very special existence to me. Huamin smiled and took a small sip from his wine glass. Jiang Linyue bit her lips, feeling quite awkward. She originally wanted to use this opportunity to embarrass Huamin. After all, he wouldn't go too far in front of so many employees. However, to her surprise, Huamin's words were even sharper, and in the end, she was the one who felt awkward. Jiang Linyue learned her lesson from last year's 30-year anniversary party and thought that she wouldn't have the chance to come again. However, to her surprise, Huamin didn't do anything this time. She thought that she took advantage of the situation. Little did she know that it wasn't that Huamin forgot about her, but that he didn't want to be distracted by small things like this. Ever since Qin Chu was shot and the 2 of them experienced life and death, Huamin suddenly realized that Jiang Linyue and Song Yishe were nothing to her and Qin Chu. These people weren't even passers-by in their lives. At most, they were just bystanders. After hearing Huamin's words, Jiang Linyue's face turned red, and she obediently turned around, otherwise, she would probably end up in an even worse state. The female employees at your company are quite interesting, huh? Why do they all seem to be your enemies? Zhu Lingling also noticed what was going on and asked Huamin with a smile. It's all because of Mr. Qin's beauty. He's too seductive, and he walks around GK all the time. Any woman would fall for him, so there are always people who think that they're prettier and more suitable for Mr. Qin than I am. She's just one of them, so it's not surprising. Huamian, is it really okay for you to use the word seductive to describe your husband? Gao Ran laughed. Then what should I use? Don't tell me you're going to use allure? Huamin continued teasing. Qin Chu, your wife is really a demon. Her mouth is too sharp, I can't beat her. Gao Ran immediately surrendered. Qin Chu only smiled without saying anything. He liked to listen to whatever Huamin said. To put it bluntly, even when Huamin scolded someone, he felt that it was pleasant to hear. This was what it meant to be spoiled to a certain extent. Zhu Lingling picked up a tissue and wiped the lipstick off her lips. As she wiped, she sighed. Women in this new era. It's so fucking tiring. In the past, we only needed to be good in the kitchen. Now, we need to be good in the kitchen. 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 Ha! Lingling, you're so talented. Do you really have to be like this? Huamin couldn't stop laughing. Do I have to be like this? Sometimes, I feel that it's so tiring for women to live in this era. Not only do we have to take care of our children, we also have to be filial to our elders, and we also have to worry about our husbands cheating on us. It's so fucking unfair. I think the country should implement polyandry. One woman can have 4 husbands. That way, there's less pressure to support the family. Women can also have a lot more free time. I agree. Huamin immediately raised his hand. At that moment, she seemed to feel Mr. Qin's sharp gaze on her. She immediately changed her words and said, I mean, although I agree with your idea, 1 husband is more than enough. Yes, it's definitely enough. Qin Chu expressed his satisfaction, and the corners of his mouth raised slightly. Come on, with your physique, you need to find 4 husbands. Can you handle it? Don't pass out in bed. Also, you forgot to mention 2 of the new era women's skills that you mentioned just now. Let me fill you in, Gao Ran reminded her. What did you forget to mention? Zhu Lingling looked at Gao Ran in confusion. Good in the kitchen, 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 good in the position, good in the bed, Qin Chu, Huamin, Zhu Lingling. Fuck? Are you even a police officer? Why are you so dirty? Chapter 1108. People's police officers are people too, they have basic biological needs, Gao Ran said righteously. Huamin couldn't stop laughing. She leaned against Qin Chu's chest and laughed until she couldn't catch her breath. Qin Chu hugged Huamin with one arm. His eyes were filled with tenderness. The employees began to gossip about the president in private. Jiang Linyue's table was filled with employees from the branch company. Many of them were meeting President Qin and Lady Qin for the first time. Therefore, they enjoyed talking about them. President Qin is so handsome. He's as handsome as those movie stars. I didn't expect him to be so young and capable. Lady Qin isn't very pretty, but she looks like a nice person. She's always smiling and isn't pretentious. Jiang Linyue didn't seem to feel comfortable listening to this, so she interrupted. What do you guys know? You can't tell from the surface. The nicer they pretend to be, the more fake they are. If she's so innocent, how did she get to the top? Think about it. Have you ever watched ancient dramas? If she wasn't scheming, how could she become the empress? Naive. After Jiang Linyue said this, everyone immediately fell silent. No one wanted to offend the president of the branch company. To be honest, after Jiang Linyue went to the branch company, she didn't do much, but she didn't do anything wrong. No matter how capable she wasn't a management major, so she couldn't use her talents to their fullest. Plus, she was angry and didn't put all her focus on work, so the branch company's performance wasn't outstanding at all. President Qin, can we start now? The hotel manager walked up to Qin Chu and asked carefully. Qin Chu nodded. Then, the hotel manager immediately gave out the order to distribute the cutlery. Then, Assistant Yang stood up with a microphone and said to the thousands of people present, "Everyone, let's raise our glasses to our dearest President Qin and a young lady. Thank you for hosting us at the end of the year, and we wish them happiness and love forever." Then, thousands of people stood up and raised their glasses. Qin Chu and Huamin also stood up and returned the toast. It was a grand occasion. "Your assistant's bootlicking skills. I'll give him 9 points. I'm afraid he'll get arrogant," Gao Ran teased with a smile. "Little Yang is a very nice person. Being a bootlicker is also a good thing, okay? It's human nature to like to hear good words. Although honest words are unpleasant to the ear, who wants to listen to negative energy all day long?" Huamin explained. Then, one after another, female and male employees went on stage to sing and perform. At first, everyone was a little embarrassed, but then Yang announced that Chairman Qin had said that everyone who performed on stage would get a red packet. As soon as he finished speaking, the performers immediately swarmed over. The dinner lasted for more than 3 hours, and the last segment was the distribution of red packets. The previous year-end red packets made everyone's hands go soft. There was also an exciting lucky draw. There were laptops, cameras, phones, watches, luxury bags, and everything else. Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling were so envious that they couldn't sit still anymore. "You guys are so extravagant. Even the lucky draw for the year-end bonus includes LV bags, Hermes, Prada, and Burberry. The super rich can really do whatever they want. Your company's benefits are so good. Damn it, I don't want to work at the airline anymore. I want to quit and join GK." Zhu Lingling looked at the mountain of luxury items with envy. "I don't want to work there either. Qin Chu, find me a position as well. I want to work at your company too." Gao Ran, a police officer, couldn't resist the temptation and immediately betrayed them. "Don't be jealous, I prepared gifts for you guys too." Huamin smiled. "We got gifts too? What are they? Give them to me, let me see." Zhu Lingling was pleasantly surprised. Chapter 1109. Then Huamin waved his hand. There were 2 bags on the waitress tray. Huamin picked them up and handed one to Gao Ran and the other to Zhu Lingling. A limited edition LV belt and a limited edition LV bag. Huamin said, "Oh, that's too extravagant. Remember to bring us to next year's employee meeting, huh?" Zhu Lingling happily took the gifts. "I'm happy to be friends with you too, you're so sensible." Gao Ran picked up the belts and looked at them. "This isn't from our company, we paid for it ourselves, it's a New Year's gift for you too." Huamin explained. "That's great, to show our gratitude, we'll definitely give you one in return." Then, Zhu Lingling took out something from her bag and slapped it on Huamin's hand. "Take it." Huamin looked at the thing in his hand and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was an entire box of Durex. "Are you sure you're not messing with me? We want a child now. What's the point of giving me this thing? Do you still want to be a godmother?" Huamin asked through gritted teeth. "You're thinking too much. I know you guys want a baby, so you don't usually bring one. But what if Mr. Qin can't control himself and runs a red light when you're on your period? It's not good to get a bed full of them, right? This is very convenient, it's super thin and breathable. It's the same whether you bring it or not, it's absolutely comfortable. You're such a sharp-tongued Ling. I admire no one but you." Gao Ran gave her a thumbs up. He didn't know about this gift before, but when he saw Zhu Lingling take out the box of Durex, he was speechless. "You 2 animals." Huamin scolded with a smile. He even thought of something like her period. He was truly a pervert among perverts. "I'm doing this for your own good. When your period comes, it lasts for 7 or 8 days. Can Mr. Qin take it?" Zhu Lingling said in all seriousness. Qin Chu, who had been silent all this time, suddenly interrupted, "I will try my best to restrain myself." Huamin, look, Mr. Qin is having a hard time restraining himself. You don't have to anymore. With this, you can do whatever you want." Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran laughed hysterically. After the 4 of them finished their meal, they went out for a walk. It was very cold in Mount Yunding in the middle of winter, and it often snowed in the middle of the night. The four of them wore thick clothes and walked in the snow on the path in front of the hotel. It was peaceful and quiet. Humans are really a mysterious species. They like to reminisce about the past and sigh. I remember the last time I was here. I thought it would be a long time before I could come again. I didn't expect it to be so soon, and it's the four of us. Huamin said slowly. Just then, a few snowflakes fell on Huamin's head. Qin Chu, who was wearing gloves, gently brushed them off for her. Zhu Lingling saw this and was extremely envious. She immediately turned around and said to Gao Ran, "Stinky cop, I want one too." Okay. Gao Ran immediately walked up to Zhu Lingling, put his hands on her head, and shook it violently. She immediately felt dizzy. Fuck? What are you doing? My neck is going to break. Do you know that? Didn't you ask me to help you with the snowflakes? Gao Ran looked like he was wronged. I fucking asked you to be gentle like Mr. Qin, but you're so fucking rough. No wonder you can't find a wife. Look at you. Any woman would be scared away by you, but you didn't scare them away, did you? I can't fucking get married, so I'm just trying to make do with you. Zhu Lingling argued. That's why a broken pot has a broken lid, and a dumbass has a dumbass love. Gao Ran gave her a classic quote. Zhu Lingling kicked him in the butt. Fuck off, you're the dumb. Dating you makes me fucking worried, Zhu Lingling yelled. Huamin and Qin Chu watched from the side, smiling without saying anything. The time the four of them spent together was always very happy. Time also seemed to pass very quickly. After a weekend, the four of them went back to work as usual. On Monday morning, after Huamin finished his morning meeting, Jiang Xiaowei sent her a WeChat message. Mian, breaking news, Lord Su went on a blind date today. Did you know? Chapter 11:10. Really? Huamin's reaction was normal. Maybe she didn't think that Su Yu's blind date was news. Plus, because Su Yu helped Qin Chu get a military doctor, he made a deal with his grandfather. This made Huamin quite sad. Aren't you curious to see it? Why would I be curious? Today's blind date is with a doctor from the first hospital. She's your colleague. Jiang Xiaowei was quite gossipy. Huamin couldn't help but laugh. There are a lot of doctors in the first hospital. I don't even know most of them. Why would I be curious? You're right. Anyway, I think it's quite interesting. I wonder what Lord Su's blind date will be like. It must be hilarious, right? After chatting with Jiang Xiaowei for a while, Huamin didn't take it seriously and continued working. At the first hospital's pediatric outpatient department, Su Yu came here to meet his blind date as requested. God knew how much he didn't want to go on blind dates, but he had no choice. He had made a deal with his grandfather. A man had to keep his word. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to keep his word in front of his grandfather. Su Yu drove his black Lamborghini all the way to the first hospital. When he arrived, he was glad that he wasn't at South Side. Otherwise, if Huamin saw him, how awkward would that be? At the pediatric outpatient department, are you here to see a doctor? Go line up first. A young female doctor said impatiently. No, I'm here to see someone. Who are you looking for? The female doctor looked up. Su Yu touched his nose awkwardly. What's her name? I think it's Sun something Ting. Sun Ting Ting? Su Yu vaguely remembered that she was the niece of his mother's best friend. Apparently, she graduated from Jing City's medical school and was also a top student. Now, she was working at the first hospital as a pediatric doctor. Her family was in the lumber business and was rich. Although they weren't of equal social status, their family background was clean. Su Yu wasn't interested in wood, socialites, or top students. The only thing that piqued his interest was the profession of a doctor. He was actually quite curious. Were all women who were doctors the same as Huamin? Or just like Huamin? Su Yu was curious, but he also kept his promise to his grandfather. He obediently went on the blind date. Sun Yiting, the female doctor corrected her. Yes, Sun Yiting. Su Yu immediately understood after being reminded. Where is she now? Su Yu looked around, trying to look into the clinic. There's no need to look. I'm her. The female doctor took off her mask. Su Yu froze on the spot. How could there be such a coincidence? To think that one of them would be the true body. Suyu rubbed his forehead awkwardly. Are you Suyu? The female doctor raised her head and asked. Suyu nodded. After confirming that it was Suyu, the female doctor's attitude immediately became much better. She smiled and said, I'm sorry for what happened just now. We have too many patients here, so my tone wasn't too good. Alright, let's go somewhere else to talk. It's not convenient here. The female doctor led Suyu all the way to the backyard of the first hospital. There were fewer people here, so it was a good place to talk. Suyu glanced at the female doctor. She was quite pretty. She was around 165 centimeters tall, fair and clean. However, for some reason, Suyu just couldn't bring himself to like her. She couldn't even compare to Huamin. I heard that you have your own entertainment company. I don't pay much attention to the entertainment industry, so I don't know much about it. The female doctor took the initiative to speak. Yes. Suyu nodded. That's pretty impressive. You don't usually fool around with those female celebrities, right? I hate it when men cheat on women. Suyu was quite surprised by the female doctor's sudden words. Chapter 11:11. To be honest, I used to, but not anymore. Were you upset? The female doctor asked. Suyu was speechless. He felt that this female doctor didn't know how to talk. Her tone was also very aggressive, making it hard for him to like her. No, it's because of someone. Who? Ex-girlfriend? The female doctor continued to ask. Then who is it? The female doctor didn't seem to give up. I'm sorry, we're not close enough to discuss private matters. Suyu froze for a moment after saying this. Wasn't that Huamin's catchphrase? Why did he use it so casually? What a magical feeling. After being choked by Suyu, Sun Yiting didn't continue to ask. Instead, she took the initiative to introduce herself. My aunt should have told you, right? I graduated from Jing City Medical School. I'm a top student. She did, but in this day and age, there are a lot of top students. Out of 10 people, 5 are undergraduates, and 2 are graduate students. Suyu didn't like the girl's tone. What was so great about being a top student? She didn't graduate from Harvard Medical School. Did she have to be so awesome? Sure enough, after hearing what Suyu said, the girl stopped talking about being a top student and continued, I'm an only child. I'm not a twin, Suyu retorted. My parents are in the lumber business. My family has 3 furniture factories, and they'll give them to me in the future. Suyu held his forehead and said in boredom, not counting my own Imperial Star Entertainment, my family has the largest private bank in the country. In the future, I can take over the family business. If you don't have enough money for your small toy factories, you can come to me. I might be able to help you get a loan. You? Sun Yiting was furious. Why do you speak so harshly? Sun Yiting had a sense of superiority. She had gone on many blind dates, and it was always the men who praised her. This was the first time that he had seen Suyu speak so crudely, so he was furious. Then when you talk to me, can you not be so pretentious? Suyu resisted the impulse several times. Otherwise, he really wanted to give her a few slaps. I'm not pretending. I'm just telling the truth. Sun Yiting didn't seem to think that she was wrong. Did your aunt tell you who I am? Suyu asked with his arms crossed. He did. He said that your family is in the banking business. You even have an entertainment company. Then do you know who my entertainment company has made famous? Suyu glanced at her coldly. The female doctor shook her head. Does Jian Tong know? I know. Isn't she the most popular female celebrity now? The one who acted in the palace drama. It seemed that she hadn't lost her mind after working so much. Yes, she was groomed by my company. I can ask her to serve me tea at any time. Can you? Sun Yiting was stunned. Is your company that powerful? Sun Yiting had just returned to the city and worked at the first hospital for less than half a month. Therefore, she didn't know much about the situation in the city, let alone the legend of Suyu. That was why she dared to speak so boldly. Forget it, it's a waste of time to talk to you. If it weren't for my mom, I wouldn't have talked to you. I'm leaving. Then, Suyu turned around and left. Hey, Mr. Su, wait a second. What? Suyu said in annoyance. This idiot who pretended to be a persecutor had completely worn out his patience. What do you think of us? The female doctor asked shamelessly. I think there are 10 Pacific Oceans between us. After speaking, Suyu left without looking back. The female doctor was left alone in a mess. 10 Pacific Oceans? How far was that? Was it necessary? After walking out of the first hospital and getting into his Lamborghini, Suyu picked up his phone and dialed a number. Mom, it's done. How was it? Is that girl your type? Mrs. Su asked nosily. Chapter 11-12. Mom, tell me the truth, where did you find such an idiot? Suyu asked impatiently. Mother Su was speechless. What's going on? Is that girl stupid? Mother Su didn't think it was possible. She was introduced by her friend, so she should be reliable. Not only is she stupid, but she's also a pretentious prick. How is that possible? Son, did you meet the wrong person? Mother Su asked worriedly. No, there aren't that many young people in the pediatrics department. She's a top student and her family sells toys. What toys? Her family is in the lumber business. Mother Su corrected him. I don't care what she does, but no, she's terrible. If I marry her, you and Dad will live at least 10 years less. Is it that serious? Mother Su wondered if her son was making a mountain out of a molehill. Okay, I don't have time to argue with you. I just followed the rules. I don't like her, so you can't blame me. Okay, I'm going back to the company. After speaking, Suyu hung up the phone before Mother Su could say anything. Suyu wanted to drive straight back to the company, but for some reason he drove to Southside Recuperation Center. Since he was already there, he couldn't let it go to waste. So, after hesitating for a while, Suyu got out of the car. Inside the neurology office, Huamin was looking at the CT scans of the patients' heads on her computer and analyzing their conditions. When she heard a knock on the door, she thought it was her assistant, so she didn't even look up. Come in. Suyu opened the door and slowly walked in. Jia, can you get me a glass of water? Thank you. Huamin reached out and pushed her personal glass of water forward. Suyu froze for a second, then obediently picked up the glass and went to the water dispenser to get Huamin some water. Then she placed the glass on her desk. Huamin was engrossed in reading the documents. She took a sip of water and slowly put it down. Xiaojia, do you have the patient's medical record from yesterday? Give it to me. I think you're about to have a split personality. Suyu looked at Huamin's profile and laughed. Huamin was surprised to hear Suyu's voice. Why are you here? Who do you think it is? Suyu looked at her with amusement. I thought it was my assistant. Huamin was too engrossed. Is your assistant as tall, strong, and handsome as me? Stop joking around. Why are you here? Well, I'm here to visit a friend. He's recuperating here. I just remembered that I've been busy with work recently and haven't been able to sleep well, so I wanted you to prescribe me some sedative medicine. Suyu deliberately tried to find a topic. He really couldn't say that he came because he wanted to see her, because every time he got serious, Huamin would feel especially awkward. That was why he came up with all kinds of excuses. You can't take sedative medicine casually, you'll become dependent on it. I recommend physical therapy. How do I do that? Use an eye massage machine, drink some red wine before bed, and listen to some soft music to relieve your tense nerves. You can't sleep well because the nerves in your brain are too excited. You might be under a lot of pressure or have something on your mind. Just adjust yourself, it's not a serious illness, Huamin advised. Okay, I'll go back and try it. Suyu nodded. Didn't you go on a blind date today? How was it? Any progress? Huamin suddenly thought of this and asked with a smile. Chapter 11-13. You're so well informed? Don't tell me you found someone to follow me? Do you think I'd spend that kind of money to follow you? Huamin laughed. Sai, don't even mention it. My blind date is an idiot. I can't even look at her. It's like she's torturing me, Suyu complained. Isn't she a doctor from the first hospital? Yeah, because she's a doctor, I was curious and agreed to take a look at her. But what the hell? It's crazy. Su-yu really regretted agreeing to her mother's arrangement. It seemed like she had been blinded by the profession of a doctor. She mistakenly thought that all female doctors were like Huamin, smart, self-aware, and calm. Really? Aren't you exaggerating? Huamin looked at Su-yu, amused. Su-yu looked at Huamin and suddenly reached out to take off her glasses and put them on herself. Huamin didn't expect this sudden action. Hey, what are you doing? Are you a robber? Nice glasses, give them to me. After Su-yu put them on, she took out her phone and took a picture of herself. No way, you're a godlike tycoon. Why would you rob someone else? Of course I can't give them to you, but I can sell them to you for 1,000. You and Jiang Xiaowei don't have the same mother, right? You're so fucking alike, all you talk about is money. Su-yu looked at Huamin speechlessly and immediately thought of Jiang Xiaowei, that money grubber. Maybe, I'm going to do a DNA test with her later. Huamin was extremely cooperative. Wei Liao is so lucky to have Jiang Xiaowei. After Su-yu finished speaking seriously, he took off his glasses and placed them on Huamin's table. He looked at her with a complicated expression and said, Qin Chu is so lucky to have Huamin. After hearing Su-yu's words, the usually eloquent Huamin bit his lips, not knowing what to say. She didn't know why, but sometimes, when she heard Su-yu speak seriously, she would feel sad. I'm fine. I just saw a friend and came to see you. You can continue with your work. I won't disturb you. After speaking, Su-yu turned around and left. Su-yu? Huamin suddenly called out to him. Su-yu turned around with one hand in his pocket, looking very handsome. Don't you like this spectacle frame? I'll give it to you. After speaking, she didn't forget to add, it's free. Forget it. No matter how much I like it, it's not mine. You can keep it. Thank you. Su-yu smiled. After speaking, he walked out of Huamin's office. Huamin was slightly surprised. Then she quietly picked up the spectacle frame, put it on, and continued to work. Every time she saw Su-yu, she felt very complicated, especially when Su-yu was serious. So, to be honest, Huamin didn't want to have too much contact with Su-yu. She felt that it was better for everyone. But the difference was that every time Su-yu saw Huamin, he felt a sense of satisfaction. It was as if he was going to be in a good mood for the day. Fei Wang had a song called Legend. There was a line in the lyrics that was very suitable for this situation. Just because I saw you in the crowd, I couldn't forget your face. I dreamed that one day we would meet again. Since then, I've been missing you alone. When I miss you, you're in front of me. When I miss you, you're in my mind. When I miss you, you're in my heart. I'd rather believe that we were fated in our previous lives, that our love story in this life won't change. I'd rather wait for you to realize that I've always been by your side. On the way back, Su-yu played this song on repeat. Today, he no longer felt pain from missing her. Instead, he felt happy because he saw Huamin. The Imperial Star headquarters. When Su-yu returned to his office, there was a pile of documents waiting for him to sign. After reviewing them one by one, he began to sign them fluently. President Su, how was your blind date today? Assistant asked nervously. Chapter 11:14. Su-yu paused in the middle of signing a document. He looked up and narrowed his eyes as he sized up his assistant. When did you stop being an assistant and become a paparazzi? No, I'm just concerned about your marriage, President Su. And admitted that he wanted to know if his boss's relationship was going to end well. Will my marriage affect your career? Su-yu asked angrily. It won't affect my career, but I was thinking, if you can get married, maybe I can have a vacation? Boss, I'm getting married next month and I'm going back to my hometown for the wedding. Can you give me a week off? An gritted his teeth and finally said his little wish. Su-yu, so, when did you get a girlfriend? Su-yu was too surprised, and had been by his side for a long time. How could he not know that he had a girlfriend and was about to get married? Was this kid lying to him because he was on vacation? I just got it last month. Last month, you're getting married next month. Su-yu was shocked. Yeah. And nodded. Flash marriage? Yeah. And nodded again. How did you meet? I shook it. I'm speechless. I approve your vacation. I'll give you half a month off. You can even have time for your honeymoon. Thank you, boss. And was excited. Boss, yeah? Good luck to you too. Get out of singlehood soon. And really hoped that his boss could have a partner. Thank you. You don't have to worry about me. After An was given a vacation, the kid immediately ran away, afraid that he would go back on his word. But thinking about it, it was quite amazing. So there really were people who would get married in a flash? After work, Suyu walked out of the headquarters and saw Jian Tong on the first floor. She was wearing an ancient costume and hadn't had time to change. President Su. Jian Tong walked over with a smile. Suyu nodded. There's an indoor scene today, so I went back to the company to shoot. Have you eaten? Let me treat you to a meal. Jian Tong was one of the few female celebrities that Suyu was not annoyed by, because she was very self-aware. I'm not going. I want to go back to the old house. Oh, okay, then you go ahead. I'll ask you out later. Jian Tong would not be like other women who would be unhappy just because Suyu rejected her. Suyu drove straight back to the Su family's old house. The renovation of the new villa was almost done, but he wasn't willing to live there. She had gotten used to living at home and was actually a little afraid of loneliness. Son, you're back. Dinner is ready. Today, I made your favorite braised pork trotters. Mrs. Su smiled. Suyu didn't seem to be in a good mood. It doesn't matter if we can't do it today. We have more tomorrow. Before Mrs. Su could finish, she was interrupted by Suyu. Thank you. I know that you and Grandpa are doing this for my sake, so you helped me. I really don't like them. I'm really tired. Can you not make any more arrangements? Mrs. Su's heart ached when she saw her son's tired expression. Son, are you still thinking about? Mom, I know what I'm doing. After saying this, Suyu went straight upstairs. Mrs. Su looked at her son's back with sadness. Her son was so good, but Hua Mian just didn't like him. It was all God's will. Hui Yanyan hadn't been out much lately because there were always people who wanted to kick her when she was down. Today, she received a call from one of her best friends who wanted to buy her coffee. However, when she arrived, she saw that there was another person besides that woman. She also knew that person. Hello, Miss Hua, Song Yisher said with a smile. Miss Song. Don't be so formal. Sit down, let's talk. Miss Song and I don't really know each other. Hui Yanyan had learned to be smart recently and looked at Song Yisher a little defensively. But I'm very interested in Hua Min. Are you willing to work with me? Song Yisher looked at Hui Yanyan with a smile. Hui Yanyan looked at her in surprise. Chapter 11:15. How do we work together? Hui Yanyan slowly sat down across from Song Yisher. It's simple. You need to expose Hua Min's childhood. You need to expose all the dirt you know about her, whether it's true or not. Yes, whether it's true or not. You want me to fabricate some dirt? Hui Yanyan asked as she looked at Song Yisher. You could say that. Why are you doing this? Did she offend you in any way? You don't need to know that. All you need to know is that I want you to do this. What do I get in return? Hui Yanyan asked. 1 million. After speaking, Song Yisher took out a bank card. Here's 1 million. Although it's not a lot, I know that you've been in need of money lately. We all know about the changes in your family. You probably don't even have the money to buy clothes anymore. You're quite pitiful. You're the daughter of a rich family, but you have to live like a maid. Hui Yanyan didn't say anything. She only looked at the bank card with a complicated expression on her face. It's actually very simple. As long as you say it, no one will pursue the matter, right? You're Hua Min's half-sister, and your last name is Hua. All you have to do is stand up and expose some dirt on her, and the 1 million is yours. It's that simple. Hua Min will kill me. Hui Yanyan looked up and stared into Song Yisher's eyes. Ha, kill you? What a joke. We live in a society governed by law. Who dares to kill people? Hua Min is so smart that she won't. At most, she'll question you. Miss Hua, you don't seem like such a coward. What's wrong? Don't tell me you're scared out of your wits by that woman, Hua Min? Song Yisher looked at Hui Yanyan with disdain. You don't seem to know how powerful Hui Min is. I advise you not to make her your enemy. She's not as gentle as she looks. Hui Yanyan knew how powerful Hui Min was, so she advised Song Yisher not to make an enemy out of Hui Min. Yanyan, are you crazy? Do you think that just because you're afraid of Hui Min, everyone else is afraid of her? Do you know what kind of person our Xianxia is? She's Mayor Song's daughter, God's favored daughter. There's no one else here who's more honorable than her. How dare you advise her not to make an enemy out of Hui Min? Are you kidding me? Hui Yanyan's best friend sneered. This has nothing to do with status. Hui Min is very powerful. It's not wise for you to offend her. Enough with the nonsense. Just tell me if you want to work with me or not. Song Yisher waved the bank card in her hand. Hui Yanyan really needed the money right now, but she made the right choice. She stood up and said, I'm sorry, Miss Song. I can't work with you. You're afraid of Hui Min? Song Yisher raised her eyebrows and asked rudely. You can think of it that way. Anyways, if you don't listen to me today, you'll probably regret it in the future. You're on your own. After speaking, Hui Yanyan turned around and left. Song Yisher looked at the woman beside her in exasperation. Didn't you say that Hui Yanyan was an idiot? Why did she refuse? I tried so hard to persuade her, but she didn't take the bait. I wasted so much time talking to her. Do you know her at all? Song Yisher thought that Hui Yanyan would definitely take the bait for the 1 million yuan. Then she would be able to expose Hui Min in a negative light. She wanted to take the opportunity to do something, but to her surprise, Hui Yanyan didn't take the money. What a surprise! Chapter 11:16. Yeah, she used to be so gullible. She believed everything I said. Why is she so smart now? The woman lowered her head, not daring to look into Song Yisher's eyes. What a waste of my time. After speaking, Song Yisher stood up coldly and walked out of the cafe. Hui Yanyan wandered around outside for a while, and it was already late at night by the time she returned to the Hui mansion. Her mother and brother were under house arrest by her father, but she couldn't even call the police. What a pathetic life. She could only drink to drown her sorrows. Hui Yanyan drunkenly opened the door and walked into the living room. The living room was pitch black. Just as she was about to turn on the lights, she felt a pair of hands tightly gripping her neck. Then he suddenly forced her into a corner. Under the moonlight, she clearly saw the man's face. Who else but Hui Xiqian would dare to treat her so arrogantly in the Hui mansion? What do you want? Hui Yanyan asked with great difficulty. She was almost out of breath from being choked. What did Song Yisher say to you? Hui Xiqian's voice was unbelievably cold. Hui Yanyan trembled in fear upon hearing this. The aura he exuded was completely different from usual. It was as if he was a completely different person from the smiling man he used to be. How did you know that she was looking for me? Hui Yanyan asked in confusion. Idiot. Hurry up and answer me. I don't have the patience to talk nonsense with you. Hui Xiqian tightened his grip. Hui Yanyan felt like she was going to die at any moment. He really didn't hold back at all when it came to her. He didn't treat her like a sister at all. Song Yisher. She came to ask me for a collaboration. Hui Yanyan was extremely afraid of Hui Xiqian. Since they lived under the same roof, she knew that this demon would really kill her. She knew that no one would find out even if he threw away her corpse. Collaboration? What kind of collaboration? Seeing that Hui Yanyan had relented, Hui Xiqian suddenly let go of her. Cough, 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 cough. Hui Yanyan began coughing violently. Collaboration. She gave me 1 million yuan to defame Hui Min. Defame Hui Min? Hui Xiqian looked up, his eyes darkening. She told me to make up whatever I wanted and that no one would look into the authenticity of the story, as long as I didn't ruin Hui Min's image. But I didn't agree. I really didn't take her money. Hui Yanyan timidly looked into Hui Xiqian's eyes, afraid that he would strangle her again. This woman is really... She doesn't want to live a good life, but she wants to court death. Hui Xiqian said in a low voice as he took out a wet towel and wiped the hand that was strangling Hui Yanyan's neck. I really didn't agree. I won't hurt Hui Min. She helped me twice and I owe her a lot. I won't do that, trust me. I know you wouldn't dare, get out. After Hua Xiqin yelled at her, Hua Yanyan was so scared that she peed her pants and ran upstairs. She stayed in this house all day and had to listen to Jiang Hong. Hua Xiqin didn't like her, and she was threatened by Hua Xiqin. Hua Yanyan was under a lot of stress. She really wanted to find a random man and marry him so that she could leave this terrifying house. After Hua Min got off work, he called Qin Chu. He seemed to be busy. Therefore, he drove to Xianxia's ramen across from Second High and ordered 2 bowls of noodles. Then he drove to GK headquarters. A young lady. Yang nodded politely. Is he inside? Yeah, the president is in a video conference. Oh? Then I'll go in later. It's okay, the president said you can go in as soon as you arrive. Hua Min carefully carried the 2 bowls of noodles, opened the door, and walked in. Qin Chu was scolding his subordinates. The people in charge of the subsidiary companies all lowered their heads and didn't dare to make a sound. Redo the proposal before Friday. If it doesn't go well this time, you guys can all go home and retire. Yes, President. Qin Chu coldly hung up the phone. Then he glanced at Hua Min, who was standing at the door. His cold expression immediately softened, and his eyes became gentle. Mian, come here. Qin Chu gestured with his finger. Ever since they got married, Qin Chu mostly called her honey and rarely called her Mian. Every time he called her Mian, it meant that he was up to something. Therefore, Hua Min cautiously walked towards him. Chapter 11:17. Mr. Qin, are you plotting something? Hua Min pursed her lips and smiled at Qin Chu. Is that how you think of your husband? Qin Chu raised his eyebrows and asked. It's not that I think of you that way, but you do have a criminal record, okay? Every time you call me that, I know it's not something good. Hua Min learned to be smart and didn't jump into her husband's traps so easily. Let me show you something, Qin Chu said as he took out a document from his drawer and placed it on the table. Hua Min picked it up and flipped through it and immediately smiled. Do you want to go? Qin Chu asked. Yeah. Hua Min nodded shyly. It turned out that this was an invitation from their alma mater, Second High School. They were invited to return to their alma mater on Saturday to experience life. Recently, the school was holding a Back to 17 event. Many successful people from their alma mater had returned to school to experience life. As a young entrepreneur, Qin Chu was ranked at the top of the list. He had always been a popular figure in Second High, and many of the juniors in the school were talking about their school stories. Therefore, Hua Min was very happy to have this opportunity. Out of all of her studies, high school was the most important to her. It was where she and Qin Chu first started. I didn't think that our alma mater would have such a humane event. Hua Min said intimately as she wrapped her arms around Qin Chu's neck. I knew you'd like it. When I went to buy ramen, I was thinking about how great it would be if I could turn back time. I would definitely cherish those 3 hurried and beautiful years. Honey, I'm hungry. Qin Chu suddenly said pitifully. All right, I forgot. Here, I brought some ramen for you to eat. Then, Hua Min reached out to open the bag of ramen on the table. However, Qin Chu began to move his hands up and down her body. Huh? What are you doing? Hua Min immediately turned his head. I'm really hungry. I need to eat this before I can eat that. Qin Chu's words were very meaningful. What are you talking about? Let me tell you, eat your food properly and don't think about anything else. This is the president's office. Hua Min reminded her with a smile. What are you afraid of? I'm the president, and this is my office. After speaking, Qin Chu pressed Hua Min down and kissed her passionately. Indeed, he had eaten her food before he ate, of course. He didn't really eat it. He just wanted to let Qin Chu have a little fun. As for the rest, he had to go home and deal with it. The two of them sat face to face as they ate Xianxia's ramen. In the middle was a small plate of pickled vegetables given by the boss. The food looked ordinary, but the two of them ate with relish. Honey, when we get married, can we open a noodle restaurant too? Just like the boss and his wife of Xianxia's ramen, we can open a noodle restaurant near a school and watch the kids go to and from school every day. It'll be a happy experience, right? Hua Min fantasized as he ate. Wouldn't that be a waste? Qin Chu smiled. Waste what? Huamin didn't understand what he meant. A waste of resources. We're both doctors. Qin Chu reminded him. Only then did Huamin realize, a doctor who doesn't want to face the boss of a noodle restaurant isn't a good doctor. Huamin smiled brightly. Qin Chu picked up a tissue and gently wiped the oil off the corner of her mouth. His movements were very gentle. Perhaps Qin Chu was only so patient with Huamin. No matter how busy he was, how tired he was, or how frustrated he was, he never took it out on her. After eating, Qin Chu continued to work overtime while Huamin quietly sat on the sofa with a book in his hand. After working for a while, Qin Chu tilted his head and looked at Huamin as if he couldn't get enough of him. Then he playfully rolled up a tissue and threw it at Huamin. It hit Huamin right on the head. Chapter 11:18. Hey, Mr. Qin, don't be like this. Are you trying to flirt with me? Huamin complained with a smile. You're so engrossed in the book that you're ignoring me. Qin Chu was implying that if Huamin didn't look at him, he would be unhappy. I've been quietly accompanying you. You're too bossy. How about I switch to another book? I'll put down this collection of essays and read President Qin's biography instead. What do you think? Huamin asked with a smile. That's a good idea. Qin Chu nodded proudly. You think too highly of yourself. Time passed quickly as the two chatted and laughed. In the blink of an eye, it was almost 8 o'clock. After Qin Chu finished his last document, he turned off his computer and stood up. Then he walked over. He directly pressed down on Huamin with his entire body weight. Immediately, Huamin fell onto the sofa. Do you want to crush me? Huamin struggled to ask. Mr. Qin didn't look fat, but why did it feel so heavy when he was on top of her? It was like the weight of a mountain. How about, you press on top of me? After speaking, Qin Chu flipped over and hugged Huamin. Then he laid down on top of her. Their eyes met, and their gazes were filled with love. Just then, the office door suddenly opened. President Qin, can we get off work now? Assistant Yang didn't even finish her sentence before she immediately closed the door and left. She didn't want her bonus to be deducted for interrupting the president's business, right? But, so the president likes a woman on top and a man on the bottom. Who knew that the usually gentle young lady would be so tough? It's all your fault. Assistant Yang saw it, right? So embarrassed. Huamin covered her eyes with her small hands. She was too ashamed to face anyone. Obviously, nothing had happened, but this posture was too thought-provoking. Anyone who saw it would think the wrong thing, right? It's over. There must be a misunderstanding now. I can't explain it clearly even if I'm in the right. Huamin kept saying that there was a misunderstanding. Qin Chu was below her, his hands nimbly reaching into her sweater. Since he's misunderstood, let's just confirm the charges. After saying that, without waiting for Huamin to resist, he fell into the gentle web of love woven by Qin Chu. By the time the two of them left the president's office, it was already 9 o'clock. For an entire hour, Huamin felt like his face was burning as he recalled the scene just now. The sofa is too hard. I'll get someone to replace it tomorrow, Qin Chu muttered to himself. Huamin lowered his head even more. Qin Chu held her hand and they went home together. When they arrived at South Hill Manor, they realized that Lady Qin was there. Mom, it's so late. Why are you here? Qin Chu asked faintly. Huamin nodded. She didn't know what to say. After all, her relationship with Lady Qin was a bit awkward. She couldn't be like Song Yisher, calling her sweetly to make people like her. That wasn't Huamin's style of doing things either. Lady Qin scanned their faces and slowly said, Today, your dad and I went to Prajna Temple. Everyone says that the bodhisattva there is very effective, so I invited a child-giving guanyin for you guys. Huamin and Qin Chu turned their heads and saw that there was indeed a Buddhist shrine in the corner of the living room. Inside was a 70-80 centimeter tall white jade guanyin holding a cute baby. It seemed like this was the most famous child-giving guanyin. What are you doing? You should know that we don't believe in these things. Also, it's not up to the bodhisattva to decide whether or not we have children. It's up to us. Genes and chromosomes, do you understand? Qin Chu seemed a bit unhappy. Chapter 11:19. He was an atheist, so he didn't believe in anything that couldn't be explained by science. He also didn't believe in gods. In his own words, he only believed in himself. Huamin was more interested in religious beliefs, so she didn't say anything. Instead, she quietly looked at the Buddha statue. "Don't worry, your dad and I want you to have children soon, so we invited one over. You don't believe in Buddhism, so you don't have to abstain from meat or pray to Buddha. You don't have to make offerings every day. On the 1st and 15th day of the lunar month, ask the servants to put some fruits on the table. You can just light some incense." Qin Chu was just about to ask his mother to take it away, but Huamin said, "Thank you." Qin Chu looked at Huamin in surprise. She actually accepted the gift and even expressed her gratitude to his mother. Lady Qin seemed to be in a good mood as she nodded. Then, Qin Chu went upstairs to take a shower. Huamin sat with Lady Qin in the living room for a while. They used to be rivals, so they rarely had the chance to sit together and chat. So, the atmosphere was quite awkward at first. "The hospital has been busy lately, right?" Lady Qin asked. "Yeah, it's the end of the year, so it's a little busy. You're not a nurse anymore, so you don't have to work night shifts anymore. Also, I heard that neurology doctors don't have to work day and night shifts like gynecologists do, right?" "Yes." Huamin continued to nod. "Work is important, but so is family. I hope you can pay more attention to Chu and your family when you're free." "I will. Since you two are fated to be together, I naturally want you to be happy. Although I wasn't happy with you in the past, so many things have happened, and I've seen through a lot. I hope you won't hold a grudge against me because of the past." Lady Qin spoke very calmly. Huamian listened quietly. She knew that Mrs. Qin was referring to Uncle Jing's death when she mentioned the old grudge. If it was in the past, Huamin might have felt estranged. After all, it was a human life and Uncle Jing treated her so well. However, some things that happened later changed her view of him. In particular, Huamin had a bold speculation that his family background might be closely related to Uncle Jing. Uncle Jing's death might not have been caused by the Qin family. Perhaps someone was using the Qin family behind the scenes. She might be the one who killed Uncle Jing, because all the witnesses who knew about her identity back then were either dead or missing. Even the information had been completely destroyed. How could this be a coincidence? Huamin planned to ask Lady Qin about the ins and outs of the past when he had the time, but not now. After all, now was not the right time. The relationship between the two of them had just improved. If they kept asking about that matter, it wouldn't be good for either of them. Huamin thought about a lot of things better than the average person. Although she was only 24 years old, the things that she did and the things that she said were sometimes better than people in their 40s. It was as if she was born with a calm and steady aura. This aura was something that other girls her age didn't have. Back then, it was because of this unique aura that Qin Chu was infatuated with her and couldn't extricate himself from her. "Don't worry, since I'm married to Qin Chu, I won't dwell on the past. However, I hope that you won't misunderstand me because of a few words from other people, especially those who have bad intentions," Huamin replied calmly. Huamin was also very straightforward. She directly targeted Song Yisher. Chapter 11:20. From now on, I'll investigate everything carefully. I won't be used like before." After speaking, Lady Qin looked at her watch. "It's getting late, you guys should get some rest. I'm going to go now." "Okay, bye." After seeing Lady Qin off, Huamin went upstairs to take a shower and then went to bed with Qin Chu. "My mom is superstitious, don't mind her." Qin Chu turned his head and explained to Huamin. "That's good. Maybe Bodhisattva really will come to our house and give us a baby." "You believe in superstitions?" Qin Chu was slightly surprised. "Thomas, I have to believe in superstitions." Huamin smiled helplessly. She also wanted to have a child, but she had no other choice. So, wasn't it a last resort to pin her hopes on the gods? Heartbroken, Qin Chu hugged Huamin from behind. "Don't be sad, we'll have a baby. She or he might be on their way here." The next morning, Qin Chu left Sea City on a private plane at 5 a.m. because he had to go on a business trip. Huamin drove to work alone, but he felt like he was being followed the entire way. However, when he turned around, he couldn't find any clues. It was a strange feeling. Huamin frowned as he slowly drove off the highway. Not far behind him, a woman's voice came from a black Hummer. Hey, stop following her. She's very smart. If you keep following her, she'll find out. Yes, boss. Several men in black nodded in response. When Huamin arrived at the hospital, he was still in a daze. Chief Hua, this is the main topic of today's morning meeting. Please follow this explanation. Assistant Xianxia handed him a document. Xianxia whispered again. Only then did Huamin come back to his senses. Amicham? What did you just say? Huamin turned around to look at Xianxia. I said, this is the summary of the morning meeting that I've prepared for you. You must just follow this explanation. Oh, okay. Huamin reached out to take the folder, but he was still absent-minded. Director, is there something wrong? No. If you're busy, I can go to the meeting for you. You look so distracted. Xianxia rarely saw Huamin like this, so she couldn't help but worry. I'm fine. You can go back to work. After the morning meeting, Huamin walked out of the conference room and passed through the outpatient hall on the first floor before he could take the elevator to his office floor. At this moment, the same feeling appeared again. It was as if she felt someone staring at her, but she didn't know who that person was. She looked around in a panic and saw doctors, nurses, and patients coming and going. She couldn't tell them apart. He only felt a splitting headache. Why is this happening? It's so strange. Huamin muttered to herself and then hurriedly got into the elevator. The moment she turned around and entered the elevator, a female doctor in the corridor on the second floor took off her mask and smiled at her back. After finishing his morning work, Huamin looked at his watch and saw that it was almost lunchtime. He took out his phone and sent Jiang Xiaowei a WeChat message. Slightly, what are you doing? Sunbathing and eating fruit. You didn't go to work today? No, there's nothing going on at the station. Wei Liao didn't let me go, so I'm on half vacation. If there's nothing special, I don't have to go. What's wrong? Do you need something from me? Jiang Xiaowei immediately asked when she heard Huamin's strange tone. Wei, I'm being followed. Followed? Jiang Xiaowei was also surprised. Chapter 11:21. Yes, but I'm not sure, because I haven't found any clues or evidence yet. Then how did you know you were being followed? Jiang Xiaowei asked again. I had a feeling, a very strong feeling. Ever since I drove out this morning on the way to the hospital after the meeting, I felt a pair of eyes watching me, but I didn't know where she was. It was a very scary feeling. I panicked. Huamin said anxiously. Jiang Xiaowei was a psychologist, so she hoped that she could help her analyze the situation and find out what was going on. After the kidnapping incident last time, Huamin had always been on high alert, constantly observing his surroundings and people. If you have this feeling, then it's probably not an illusion. You didn't look around for suspicious people or vehicles and record them. Jiang Xiaowei reminded him. No, it's just that it's very scary. I can't find anyone suspicious at all, as if everything was just an illusion. Could it really be an illusion? You've been under a lot of pressure recently. In fact, if you're too busy and tired, you'll have different types of hallucinations, such as auditory and visual hallucinations. No, I've been under more pressure than this before, but I didn't have this feeling. Do you know? This is a strong new feeling. It seems to be very close to me, but I can't see or touch it. It's an indescribable feeling. Huamin didn't seem to be able to describe that subtle feeling. Huh? That's strange. But since you have this feeling, I suggest you be careful and don't let anything happen to you. You're the director of Southside and a young lady of the Qin family, so it's inevitable that people will have other thoughts about you. I'll be careful. Huamin nodded. After chatting with Jiang Xiaowei for a while, Huamin felt much better. Then he called Jixin on an international long-distance call, and Huamin went back to work. In the afternoon, after visiting a patient, he went downstairs for a walk. It was said that a pregnant woman in the obstetrics and gynecology department on the second floor had given birth to triplets. They were all girls, so everyone in the hospital went over to join in the fun. Huamin wasn't a person who liked to join in the fun, but he liked the baby so much that he couldn't help going down. Obstetrics and gynecology entrance, Department Director Huamin. A few obstetricians and gynecologists nodded and greeted him when they saw him. They all respected Huamin very much. Perhaps it could be said that if it weren't for Huamin's bold suggestions of reorganization, they wouldn't have been able to survive. The South Side shouldn't be this strong. It might even surpass the first hospital. If it weren't for Huamin, South Side would still be a medical center known for its obscenity. It wouldn't be a hospital at all. The pregnant woman had a C-section, right? Is she full term? Huamin leaned against the glass of the ICU and looked at the 3 cute babies in the incubators with a gentle gaze. No, there are so many babies. How can she last until full term? She's only 35 weeks old. The pregnant woman also has high blood pressure during pregnancy. She won't make it, one of the doctors replied. The babies are healthy, right? They're just a bit small. One of them only weighs about 2 pounds, but they're very healthy. They're very strong. The obstetrician and gynecologist smiled. We're so lucky, 3 little princesses. Huamin couldn't be more envious. He leaned against the glass and looked at the 3 babies. His eyes were filled with the radiance of motherly love. Department Director Hua, you're lucky. Maybe you'll have multiple births in the future. One of the doctors smiled and gave him her blessing. Chapter 1122. Huamin smiled shyly. How can I be that lucky? Plus, I don't have the genes for multiple births in my family. It's hard to come by, and the chances are very low. Huamin used to work in the OB/GYN department, so she knew the principles of medicine. Huamin was very rational and wouldn't have unrealistic dreams. After looking at the babies for a while, she reluctantly left. There were a lot of people in front of the elevator, so she chose to take the stairs. The stairs leading to the second floor were very spacious, and many medical staff members left because it was too troublesome to take the elevator. Therefore, she didn't notice the people coming and going in a hurry. A woman in a white coat walked past her with her head lowered. Chief Hua. Huamin nodded. She was used to greeting people like this. There were many doctors in the hospital, but she didn't know many of them. However, most of them knew her because she was too famous. Therefore, she didn't care when the female doctor greeted her. However, when she returned to her office, she realized that her work ID was gone. It was hanging in front of her chest. She had it just now. The work ID wasn't anything special, and there was no important personal information on it. However, there was a 1-inch photo of Huamin with a blue background. She was barefaced and beautiful. Qin Chu once joked that only people who looked so beautiful in their work ID photos were truly beautiful. Huamin immediately became frustrated. She searched everywhere in the office but couldn't find it. Come in for a second. She called her assistant on the intercom. A minute later, Qin Jie ran in. Chief, what's wrong? My work ID is gone, did you see it? I saw you wearing it around your neck this morning. Qin Jie was a little surprised. Yeah, it was still there when I went to the OB/GYN department, but it was gone when I came back. Did you lose it on the way back? I'll go look for it. Qin Jie was about to leave. Jie, what else do you want me to do, Chief? Qin Jie turned around. If you didn't find it on the way back, ask the PA system to look for it and see if anyone found it. Bring it to me. Huamin felt that the work permit was not worth much. If he lost it, he would have to get a new one. It would be very troublesome. Therefore, he wanted to ask the broadcaster to look for it. Qin Jie nodded and closed the door to help Huamin. But after searching for a long time, he still found nothing. Someone has found Director Huamin's work pass. Please send it to the radio station on the first floor. On the rooftop of a building opposite the Southern District, there was a young girl in a black leather jacket with waist-length hair. She did not seem to be afraid of the cold. She sat on the windy rooftop with a brand new work permit in her hand. Then he read it word by word. Huamin, chief physician of the Department of Neurology. 10 minutes ago, she had pretended to be a doctor and brushed past Huamin. Then he quickly stole her work permit, but she didn't realize it at all. She even deliberately spoke to her, but she only treated her as a colleague that she didn't know. The girl held the work pass with a warm look in her eyes. She never knew that she could be so close to her, so close. Boss, the helicopter will pick us up in 15 minutes. We should go, the man in a black cashmere coat behind her reminded her with a serious face. Okay. The girl looked at the work pass and carefully put it in her coat pocket. Perhaps he saw through her thoughts. The man behind her said, "Our mission is urgent, so we can't stay for long. Boss, if you want to see her, there will be many opportunities in the future." I know. The girl slowly stood up and looked at the Southern District office building across the street. Then she slowly put on a pair of black deerskin gloves. She jumped down from the top step of the rooftop and left with the man. The radio station broadcast for an entire afternoon. In the end, Huamin still couldn't find the work pass, so he applied for a new one. At night, when Huamin got off work, he put on his headphones and called Qin Chu. "Honey." Qin Chu picked up the phone, his voice always filled with gentleness. "Honey, are you back?" Huamin smiled happily. Chapter 11:23. Not yet, honey. I'm still out of town, I didn't get on the plane, Qin Chu replied softly. Oh, are you coming back tonight? Huamin was slightly disappointed. Huamin had become super clingy. She didn't want Qin Chu to go on a business trip, especially if he had to spend the night in another city. She would feel lonely if she was the only one left in her bedroom at South Hill Manor. Even if she knew that there were many maids in the house, she would still feel empty. I'll probably be back around 8 p.m. Don't wait for me for dinner, it's too late. Okay, I'll go to my mom's for dinner. Oh right, there's a good movie on, do you want to go with me? I don't know when I'll be there, we'll decide after dinner. Huamin nodded and hung up. After Qin Chu hung up on Huamin, Rick called. Although he was Qin Chu's good friend, he rarely called Qin Chu. Every time he called, he had something important to say. So, Qin Chu was very careful when he picked up Rick's call. Qin Chu, something strange happened today, I have to tell you. Okay, go ahead. Qin Chu looked calm. You know that I've sent people to protect Huamin, right? So, we know who's around her. Ever since she was kidnapped, our people snuck into the hospital and followed Huamin closely to protect her. But today, at this point, Rick paused. Qin Chu was also shocked by what he heard. What happened today? Qin Chu asked. When Huamin went to work this morning, a suspicious Hummer followed her, but I'm not sure. What do you mean you're not sure? Qin Chu frowned slightly. Rick wasn't sure what kind of person it was. Was Mion in danger again? Because that car would sometimes wander behind her, but after a while, it would change lanes and leave. Then it would appear out of nowhere. This feeling doesn't make sense. Then this car, will it follow her all the way to South Side? Qin Chu asked worriedly. No. When we were about to reach South Side, the car turned in another direction. It seemed like a coincidence, but based on my years of experience, I don't think it's a coincidence. If it's not a coincidence, then we can only say that the person in the car is an expert and is playing a game of hide and seek with us. If that's the case, then it's a little troublesome because the person is obviously very intelligent. So, I want to ask you, do you want to increase the protection of Huamin, or tell her not to go to work for a while? Rick was a very calm person. He was known for his steadiness in handling matters. Some people might think that he was making a mountain out of a molehill. However, the truth was that his analysis was always right. Even if it was just a hunch, it was always accurate. I don't think it'll work if we tell her to stay at home. Mion won't agree. She can't stay idle? How about this? I'll trouble you to send more people to make sure she's safe. Qin Chu thought for a moment and said. Okay, I'll tell my people to be more careful. Oh, right, there's one more thing that's suspicious. I wonder if it has anything to do with this. I have something to tell you. Rick suddenly remembered something. Go ahead. Chapter 11:24. You've heard of the Green Tiger Hall, a gang in our city, right? I've heard of them. They're involved in underground casinos and loan sharks, right? Chin Chu knew a little about the gangs in the city. Yeah, they don't have a good reputation, and not many people want to talk to them. I heard that their boss is a Russian who has been giving them money and keeping a bunch of puppets. But this morning, when they were setting off firecrackers in their newly built casino, there was a huge explosion. Many people were injured, and the boss of the Green Tiger Hall, Hong Ji, died on the spot. Huh? Why didn't I hear anything about it? Chin Chu was a little surprised. Because the police blocked the news, they didn't want anyone to know. The local news only said that the firecrackers exploded, but according to my investigation, someone planted a super explosive called HKN-5 in their new casino. I think they were set up. At the same time, a group of unknown people left the city on a helicopter. I can't find their identities, and I can't find any information about the helicopter either. It's very strange. Even you can't find anything? Chin Chu was even more surprised. Yeah, even I can't find anything, so I'm wondering, do these people have anything to do with Huamin's stalking? I don't think so. She wouldn't offend such a powerful person, Chin Chu said slowly. That's good, I'm just guessing. I'll leave you to work, I'll contact you later. Then, Rick hung up the phone. Chin Chu, on the other hand, couldn't calm down for a long time. If this really had something to do with Huamin, then they were in big trouble. A group of people who could blow up a huge underground casino without anyone knowing, and a group of people who could fly in and out of a helicopter without anyone knowing their identities. Even stalking someone could make you feel so unreal. What kind of terrifying existence was this? Sir, Mayor Kai asked us to stay for dinner. He arranged a dinner party. Assistant Yang reminded him. He looked at his watch. It was almost 6 p.m. He promised his wife that he would watch a movie with her at 8 p.m. So, Chin Chu shook his head. Tell him we're not going, maybe next time. It wasn't the first time that the president had rejected the mayor's request. Yang knew that no matter who it was in his boss's eyes, a young lady was more important. Therefore, he immediately canceled the dinner and took a private plane back. Before boarding the plane, Chin Chu sent a WeChat message to Huamin. Honey, I'm on the plane. I'll be there around 8:30 p.m. You can book the movie tickets now. When Huamin saw the WeChat message, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Mian, what are you laughing at? Yang Meirong looked at her daughter curiously. Nothing. Huamin put down his phone and continued eating. Cousin Huamin. Yang Xiaoping said weakly. Is the food to your liking? Oh, it's good. These dishes were all made by little Ping. Don't be fooled by her young age, she's very capable. When she's at home, she'll help your uncle with everything. Harvesting the crops, harvesting the corn, and even the chickens, ducks, geese, and dogs at home are all taken care of by her. She's also very good at cooking. This child is very virtuous. Clearly, the mother liked this niece very much. To be honest, Huamin had no feelings towards this girl. He didn't like her, nor did he hate her. Yeah, she's very virtuous. Upon hearing his mother's words, Huamin smiled and agreed. He didn't want to spoil his mother's mood. Cousin, do you need a nanny? I don't have a job right now. Auntie said that your house is big and beautiful, so you probably need a lot of help. Can I help you? I can do anything, Yang Xiaoping suddenly asked. Huamin froze. Chapter 1125. My family doesn't need people anymore. Huamin slowly said. The truth was, South Hill Manor was so big that it didn't matter if there was one more person or one less. It would only cost a few thousand yuan a month. However, for Mr. Qin, having 10 or even 100 people wasn't a problem at all. GK's daily income was more than an ordinary person could earn in a lifetime. To Chin Chu, money was just a number, not a savings account. However, Huamin subconsciously didn't like his cousin, so he didn't want to pretend to be a saint and let her work for him. Mian, why don't you give your cousin a job at the hospital or Chin Chu's company? She can't stay here forever. Yang Meirong wouldn't keep her niece for herself. After all, she was her biological niece and couldn't order her around like a nanny. Therefore, she had been thinking about giving her a job. She thought that since her daughter was so capable, it shouldn't be hard for her to find a job. Before Huamin could say anything, Yang Xiuping said, "Mian, I'm a timid person and I don't really like the hospital environment. Why don't you see if there are any vacancies at my cousin-in-law's company and arrange for me to work there? I haven't been to the company in a few days, I'll go check it out later. I can't give you an answer right now, but his company is mostly open for sales and senior management. I don't think you're suitable. You can also be a cleaner, but I don't want you to do that. Then, if my cousin-in-law needs someone to clean his office, I can do it for him." The girl's eyes lit up when she talked about Qin Chu. "He has a secretary and an assistant in his office." Huamin said vaguely, "Don't worry me. Let Xiuping stay here for now and see what she can do. It's best if you can find her a place to eat and live, or else it'll be inconvenient for her to get to and from work." The places that provide food and living are mostly in the service industry, like restaurants and hotels. The employees of big companies don't care about where they live. Even if we eat, it's only lunch. Huamin looked at his mother, a little troubled. "That's fine, we'll talk about it when we find one." Huamin didn't have much of an appetite either. He got up and wiped the corner of his mouth. "Mom, I'm done eating. I'll leave first." "You're leaving so soon? Have some more fruits. I'll get Xiuping to wash an apple for you." "No need, I still have something to do." Huamin hugged his mother and acted coquettishly before walking out. "Cousin, I'll walk you." Yang Xiuping volunteered to walk Huamin all the way to the entrance of the neighborhood. "Cousin, why didn't my cousin-in-law come with you today?" Yang Xiuping suddenly asked. "He's on a business trip. He's not home." "Oh, then you have to be careful." "Be careful of what?" Huamin frowned slightly. He didn't know what Xiuping meant. When a man says that he is going on a business trip, he actually has a woman outside. Cousin-in-law is so handsome and has a lot of money. I guess he might have a woman outside. You'd better keep an eye on him and don't let him go out in the future. "Who told you this?" Huamin sneered. "I saw it on TV. That's how it's supposed to be." Yang Xiuping replied blankly. Huamin patted Yang Xiuping's shoulder and said in a meaningful tone, "Don't watch those 8 p.m. dramas anymore. Go out more often and experience the real life of a big city." Then, Huamin pressed the car remote, opened the door, and got into the driver's seat. Yang Xiuping was still trying to figure out what Huamin's words meant. Huamin bumped into someone he knew when he was buying tickets at the movie theater downtown. Why are you here?" Huamin was surprised to see Rick at the entrance of the movie theater. Chapter 11:26. Let's watch a movie. Rick was a man of few words. No wonder he was Qin Chu's good friend. They were indeed the same type. It was as if he would die if he said one more word. Huamin looked at the girl behind Rick. It was the girl that Rick looked so nervous the other day at the cocktail party. It seemed like this ice cube was really in love. "Oh, you guys go ahead. You're here alone?" Rick was surprised to see Huamin come alone. "Qin Chu will be here soon." Rick nodded and then said, "Okay, we'll go in first." Rick bought tickets for the movie that was about to start, while Huamin bought tickets for the movie that would start half an hour later. Therefore, Rick and the others went in. When they went in, the girl named Cici even smiled at Huamin in a friendly manner. Huamin returned a friendly smile. She held 2 movie tickets and waited at the entrance. The movie was about to start and everyone went in after checking their tickets, but Qin Chu still hadn't appeared. Huamin was a little anxious, so she picked up her phone and made a call. "Sorry, the number you have dialed is unavailable." His phone was still turned off. Huamin remembered that she had an appointment with Qin Chu. Did he go to the wrong place? Or did he have something else to do? That shouldn't be the case. If he had something else to do, he wouldn't let her wait any longer. Just as her thoughts were running wild, a voice suddenly came from behind her. "Miss, are you waiting for someone?" Huamin turned around abruptly and immediately threw herself at Qin Chu. She wrapped her arms tightly around his neck. The staff in the theater kept looking over. "I thought you weren't coming. Why would I?" I promised you. If I didn't show up, I'd have to kneel on a durian when I got home. Qin Chu lovingly patted Huamin's head. She smiled, then she took Qin Chu's arm and walked into the cinema. The movie they were watching had just been released recently. It was called Slightly Alluring Smile. Huamin had read this novel before. It was very funny and lighthearted. Then, after the movie was made, the lead actor was also very good-looking, so she suddenly came up with the idea. She did not miss Grave Robbers Chronicles a while ago, but Qin Chu was busy with the staff meeting at that time. Xiaowei was pregnant and couldn't go to the cinema, so she had an appointment with Zhu Lingling. They were all rather satisfied. At the end of the year, when fresh meat was everywhere, it was really not easy to find a few fresh meat with good looks and acting skills. After watching Tomb Raiding and Slightly, Huamin was pleasantly surprised. When she walked out of the cinema, she was still talking about the plot with Qin Chu. By the way, honey, I saw Rick when I was buying the tickets. Really? Yeah, he should be with his girlfriend. I didn't expect to see him at the cinema. What a surprise, huh? He's a normal man, what's there to be surprised about? Qin Chu smiled. You haven't eaten yet, right? Huamin suddenly thought of a very serious problem. Yeah. Qin Chu nodded. He had been busy for the entire afternoon and night. Originally, the mayor wanted to treat him to dinner. However, he rushed back in order to watch a movie with Huamin. He had been busy for more than 2 hours, so how could he have time to eat? There were in-flight meals on the private plane, but people's taste buds were slow at high altitudes. Therefore, Qin Chu basically didn't eat the food on the plane. That was why he was still hungry. Why didn't you say so earlier? We could have watched it after dinner. Huamin looked at him with heartache. It's okay. I'll accompany you first. Are you an idiot? Huamin angrily punched Qin Chu's shoulder. She was the first person in the world to call Qin Chu an idiot. She was also the only person who dared to call Qin Chu an idiot. She was also the only person who Qin Chu was willing to be an idiot for her. It's okay if I'm an idiot as long as I have a smart wife. Qin Chu continued to smile. Did you put honey on your lips today? Huamin felt warm inside. It was sweet to hear Mr. Qin say sweet things once in a while. Let's go, I'll treat you to supper. Huamin generously pulled Qin Chu towards the food street next to the mall. There was a good Hunan cuisine restaurant there. Although it was a little spicy, it was delicious. Huamin excitedly pulled Qin Chu in, but to her surprise, she saw Su Yu as soon as she walked in. He, Tang Chuan, and a woman she didn't know were sitting at a table near the entrance. It was very eye-catching. Should we go to another restaurant? Huamin was very embarrassed. She could swear that she didn't know Su Yu was here. What a fucking coincidence. Chapter 1127. It's okay, it's nice here. Qin Chu held Huamin's hand and walked in confidently. Su Yu and the others looked up and immediately saw the two of them. The moment Qin Chu and Su Yu looked at each other, Qin Chu nodded as a greeting to Su Yu. Su Yu nodded and returned the greeting. Perhaps they were the most harmonious love rivals in history. Because they were both gentlemen, their methods were open and aboveboard, so the two of them respected each other. Su Yu looked at Huamin again. Huamin also smiled and nodded. Then, Qin Chu and Huamin sat down in an empty seat, not too far away from each other. Damn, no way, we bumped into each other like this? Lord Su, tell me the truth, did you already know that they were going to eat here, so you came to wait for them? Tang Chuan joked with a smile. Do you think I'm that bored? Su Yu rolled his eyes at him and asked in return. Then it just means that you guys have great chemistry, huh? Our sea city is so big, but you guys still manage to bump into each other like this. Su Yu didn't respond. He just lowered his head and quietly ate. Every time Qin Chu and Huamian appeared in a place, he would always be the one being pitted. This was because Qin Chu and Huamin could use all sorts of tricks to torture single people at any time. And Su Yu was that poor single person, Lord Su. Tang Chuan looked at Su Yu with interest. If you have something to say, hurry up and say it. Su Yu knew that if this guy called Lord Su with such a cheap smile, nothing good would come out of it. As expected, in my opinion, now that Old Wei is married, I don't lack female companions. As for the three musketeers, You're the only one who's been single for a long time. Why don't you find one too? Your company has been promoting a lot of newcomers recently. Isn't one of them a rare beauty that only appears once in 8,000 years? What's her name? Mengenai. She's quite pretty. If you think it's not bad, then go ahead. Su Yu replied without even lifting his eyelids. Huh, didn't she look down on me? I do want to pursue her. If not, Jian Tong is not bad. She's popular and has few scandals. I heard that many A-list male stars are interested in her, but she rejected them all. I feel that she has you in her heart. Are you Cupid? You can even see through my thoughts. Tang Chuan, don't try to matchmake me. A few days ago, my old man arranged a blind date for me, and I was so annoyed. I finally finished the mission and you're telling me this now. Next time, you'll have to pay the bill. Don't. Huh? Who can compete with you in terms of money? With your taste, one bottle of red wine would cost me a week's worth of pocket money. Huh? I'll stop talking. Tang Chuan immediately shut up. Tang Chuan wasn't like Wei Liao and Su Yu. He didn't have his own business or a formal job. He wasn't exactly a rice worm. Anyways, he had a lot of people in his family, so he didn't have to work and could still earn money. However, he wasn't as rich as Su Yu. In Sea City, there were very few people who dared to compete with Su Yu in terms of spending money. Of course, Qin Chu didn't count, because Mr. Qin didn't like to spend money. If he wanted to spend money, he would only spend it on Huamin. On the other side, Huamin ordered 4 Hunan dishes for Qin Chu. She also ordered a bowl of rice for him. The two of them ate in silence. Honey, yeah? Qin Chu looked up. Will there be a day when you get tired of me and find another woman? Qin Chu, people say that if you eat too much fish and meat, you'll get sick of it. Sometimes you'll want to eat cabbage. I don't think I'm a big fish or meat, I'm just a cabbage. If you eat too much, will you also want to eat fish and meat? Huamin rested her chin on her hands and asked Qin Chu seriously. Chapter 11:28. I don't. Why not? Because I love eating cabbage. Qin Chu replied in all seriousness. Huamin burst out laughing. Why was her Mr. Qin so cute? Even when he was answering questions, he was so cute that it made people's faces bleed. It was almost 11:30 p.m. by the time they got home from dinner. Huamin was so sleepy that she fell asleep in the passenger seat. Just then, she received a WeChat message on her phone. Girl, are you asleep yet? Qin Chu rarely looked at Huamin's phone, but when he glanced at it and saw that the person who sent the message was Huaxiqian, he couldn't stay calm anymore. He held the steering wheel with one hand and took Huamin's phone with the other. He unlocked it and replied, What's up? The old man is running out of money. I think he'll find you soon. When the time comes, no matter what tricks he uses, whether it's a sad drama or a father-daughter card, you have to stay calm. Got it, Qin Chu immediately replied. He immediately understood that Huaxiqian was talking to Huamin about Huazhenghai. It seemed like Jiang Hong and Huaxiqian couldn't wait to take over the Hua Corporation's assets, leaving Huazhenghai alone. Also, have you noticed anything strange at work recently? Huaxiqian asked. What do you mean? Like, did anything strange happen? Huaxiqian asked vaguely. However, Qin Chu had a feeling that Huamin knew that someone was following him. I feel like I'm being followed. Qin Chu purposely replied. He wanted to see how Huaxiqian would react. You probably watch too many mysteries. Why would there be so many people following you? Huaxiqian changed the topic. Then what strange things are you referring to? Qin Chu asked on behalf of Huamin. It's nothing, go to bed early. This world is full of surprises, waiting for you to discover them yourself. After that, Huaxiqian stopped replying. Qin Chu didn't ask any further. Huaxiqian was standing in front of the bedroom window on the second floor with a glass of red wine in his hand. Huaxiqian mumbled to himself, Tiki, you little brat, how could you let someone else use your phone to send me a WeChat message? How unprofessional. Huaxiqian was a very sensitive person, and he was especially careful. He was well aware of Huamin's reaction and tone when he sent him a WeChat message. He could see through anyone who pretended to be Huamin, but he knew Huamin too well over the years. He originally wanted to reveal something to the brat, but if Qin Chu was here, he wouldn't say anything. After all, the incident had nothing to do with Qin Chu, it was Huamin's personal business. If Huamin found out one day that that person came to see City and even visited her at the hospital, she would definitely be shocked. She would probably be very, very surprised, right? Xiqian, you're still awake. Jiang Hong's voice came from behind him. The door was open, so when Jiang Hong woke up in the middle of the night to smoke, she saw Hua Xiqian still awake. Hua Xiqian turned around with a smile on his face. Why aren't you asleep? I can't sleep. Me too. I don't know what's going on, but my head keeps hurting. Jiang Hong walked in with a cigarette between her fingers. Hua Xinghai hadn't been home in a long time. Ever since Xin Jiani's accident, he heard that Hua Xiqian had another sugar baby. It seemed like he wanted to have a child at an old age. After all, Hua Xi was someone else's child, which was a huge blow to him. Jiang Hong was used to Hua Xinghai being like this. She didn't marry him out of love. I'll make an appointment with a Chinese doctor to give you a massage. Jiang Hong nodded and then continued, Xiqian, how's the company going? Everything is in place, we're just waiting for the old man to ask for help. If Huamin doesn't help him, then everything will be settled. Then, will Huamin help him? Jiang Hong asked with a smile. Chapter 1129. What do you think? Hua Xiqian asked back. Then, the mother and son looked at each other and smiled. They both knew that there was no way Huamin would help Hua Xinghai. Oh, right? After you take care of business, hurry up and get married. Marriage is sometimes the best way to do business. We don't need to find someone better than us, but we need to be on par with them. That's the only way to ensure that the Hua family's business will last for 100 years, Jiang Hong reminded him. Don't worry, Mom, I already have a goal in mind. After I take care of business, I'll immediately start preparing. You have a goal? Who is it? Don't tell me, it's a Mo Shuer? Jiang Hong was a little surprised. Then I don't have to worry. You can play with the women in the entertainment industry, don't get too serious. We still need to focus on our careers. Jiang Hong patted Hua Xiqian's shoulder meaningfully. Hua Xiqian nodded obediently. The next morning, at South Hill Manor, Qin Chu and Huamin woke up early to eat breakfast. Honey, we're going back to Second High tomorrow. I'll have someone deliver the custom-made uniforms today. Uniforms? Why are you so serious? Huamin couldn't help but laugh. Of course, the uniforms now aren't as silly as the ones we had back then. They're all pretty outfits now. Since we're going to experience life, we need to be well prepared. Qin Chu seemed to place a lot of importance on this Back to 17 event, so he prepared a lot of things for Huamin. Then, do you have backpacks? Yeah. Well, what else do you have? Hurry up and tell me, I'm looking forward to it. There's also Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling. Really? Huamin was pleasantly surprised. Yeah, Gao Ran was invited too. After all, he's the captain of the Municipal Bureau's criminal police force. Zhu Lingling is just an ordinary flight attendant and doesn't have much of a career, but she's Captain Gao's girlfriend, so she's also going. Oh yeah, that's awesome. It looks like our high school days are going to be reborn. Huamin's face was filled with anticipation. Just as the two of them were chatting happily, Uncle Li suddenly walked over and reported, Sir, Madam, there's someone outside. He said he wants to see Madam. He's driving a black Mercedes 60. Is the license plate number UF 5828? Huamin asked. Uncle Li nodded. Huamin glanced at Qin Chu and said, It's Hua Xinghai's car. Let him in. Qin Chu gracefully picked up a white handkerchief and wiped his hands. Then, Uncle Li used the walkie-talkie to inform the guards at the door to let them in. The black Mercedes-Benz slowly drove into South Hill Manor. It was Hua Xinghai's first time here. He had always known that they lived in Imperial Park. Later, he asked around and found out that she had moved away, so he drove here. It was still early, not even 7 o'clock. Since Hua Xinghai was here so early, there must be something going on. Huamin didn't see Hua Xiqian's WeChat message from yesterday, so naturally he didn't know what was going on. Qin Chu deleted that conversation because he didn't want Huo Xiqian's words to confuse Huamin. Why is he here so early? Huamin took a sip of milk and looked at Qin Chu worriedly. He probably wants to talk to you about something, Qin Chu replied calmly. Mian. Chu, you guys moved, I had to go over there. As soon as Hu Jinghai walked in, he began to talk to Huamin and Qin Chu. Mian? Chu? Was that his name? What can I do for you? Huamian asked directly. I do have something to talk to you guys about, but it's not urgent. Hu Jinghai smiled awkwardly. But we're in a hurry, we have to leave for work at 7:20, or else we'll be late. You still have 20 minutes, so, do you want to have breakfast first? Huamin asked, word for word. I'll skip breakfast, then I'll get straight to the point, Mian. My company is in a bit of trouble. Last night, one of the project managers took the money and fled to Australia. Today, our partner called and said that if the money isn't in place, they'll sue us for breach of contract. But right now, we don't have that much money, so we're in a bit of a pinch, Hu Jinghai said, slightly troubled. So? Huamin looked up at him and asked calmly. Chapter 1130. So, can you lend me some working capital? As soon as you're in trouble, I'll pay you back immediately. Speaking of which, Hu Jinghai was in a tough spot. He had lived a glorious life and had countless mistresses, but in the end he had to ask for money from a daughter he never acknowledged. Now that he thought about it, it was truly ironic. Huamin glanced at Qin Chu. Although he didn't say anything, the look in his eyes said it all. You should know. I'm just a nurse. Even if I add up all my salary over the years, I probably won't be able to afford it. Huamin tactfully refused. I know you're in a tough spot, but what I meant was, can you ask my son-in-law to transfer some money from GK to me? Hu Jinghai looked at Qin Chu with a troubled expression. Son-in-law? Huamin felt like vomiting when he heard those two words. Back then, he didn't even acknowledge his daughter, but now he was acknowledging his son-in-law? What if the person she married wasn't Qin Chu, but old Wang from next door? Would Hu Jinghai still be so eager to acknowledge him as his son-in-law? Qin Chu was silent for a few seconds before he slowly said, We do have the money, but GK doesn't belong to me alone. If we want to use a large amount of money, we have to go through the board of directors, and my father has to be there to approve it. It's a very troublesome process, and it might not even pass in the end. If you're not afraid of the trouble, why don't you come with me to the board of directors? Tell them about your situation and see what they decide. Hu Jinghai was obviously at a loss for words. He was, after all, a man of status. How could he shamelessly go to the board of directors with Huamian? Wouldn't it be obvious that he was a joke? Oh, then it's okay, I'll think of something else. Then Hu Jinghai hurriedly left. Honey, good job. Huamin stood up and smiled. Yesterday, Huo Xiqian sent you a WeChat message, but you were asleep, so I didn't tell you. I'll delete it after I tell you. What did he say? Huamin was curious. He only said that Hu Jinghai might ask for help everywhere, so you shouldn't help him. How is that possible? Huamin didn't need him to tell me that. I wouldn't help Hu Jinghai unless I lost my mind. Huamin smiled. As for what Huo Xiqian had said, Qin Chu didn't tell Huamin. He felt that Huo Xiqian might use that incident to threaten Huamin in the future. He seemed to know more about Huamin's background than anyone else. As for Huamin, he was most concerned about his own background. Huo Xiqian was able to find out that he was being followed for no reason, even Rick couldn't find out about it. Huo Xiqian was really something. In order to prevent Huamin's imagination from running wild, Qin Chu ultimately chose to conceal the truth. This was also beneficial to Huamin. After rejecting Hu Jinghai's request to borrow money, the couple went to work together. Qin Chu and Huamin drove one after the other. Qin Chu drove Huamin all the way to Southside before leaving. On the way to GK, Qin Chu put on his earpiece and dialed a number. Hello. Rick, keep an eye on Huo Xiqian for me. Huo Xiqian? What's wrong? Rick was surprised. He seems to know a lot of things, more than we know, but he won't tell us everything. He's always trying to be mysterious, so I think there's something fishy about him. Okay, I understand. Rick was a straightforward person, so he immediately understood what Chin-Chu meant. When Huamin arrived at Southside, he had just finished cleaning up and had a morning meeting when Chen-Jie ran over in a hurry. Chief, someone booked you for emergency treatment. Chapter 1131. This early? Huamin glanced at his watch. It wasn't even 8:30 a.m. yet. Normally, your consultation starts in the afternoon, but this patient wants to see your number. Do you want to take it? Chen-Jie asked Huamin. Yes, don't let the patient wait for nothing. Ever since Huamin mysteriously disappeared from the clinic, Chen-Jie had been by his side the entire time. 10 minutes later, a haggard woman in her 30s walked into the clinic. She looked delicate and pretty, but her face was slightly pale. Please take a seat, Huamin looked up and said to the woman. Then, she picked up the woman's medical record and looked at it. She was surprised. Intermittent mental illness. Normally speaking, mental patients weren't part of her treatment. There were specialized mental hospitals in the city, and Huamin's patients had depression, mania, ADHD, and sleep disorders. Most of them were mental illnesses, and mental illness wasn't a mental illness. It was a dangerous patient. Normally, she could refuse to diagnose the patient. However, Huamin looked at the woman's expression and felt sorry for her, so he didn't refuse. You're Ms. Wang, right? The woman nodded. Intermittent mental illness? How long have you had this illness? Huamin asked. More than 3 years. The woman seemed to be normal when she answered. Do you have a family history? Does that mean you have this type of patient in your family? Then you're the first one. The woman nodded. Do you have any specific symptoms? Can you describe them for me? For example, do you still remember what kind of extreme behavior you did when you were sick? No. Then, what's the cause of this illness? Has your attending doctor examined you before? He said it was because of mental stress. What kind of mental stress do you have? Does it come from work or life? Huamin asked carefully. At the same time, Chen-Jie took out a small notebook and recorded some important details. The woman paused for a moment and said slowly, Both? Ever since I got sick, I resigned and have been staying at home. Are you married? Do you have any children? I'm married. I don't have any children. Huamin nodded. Actually, your attending doctor diagnosed you with intermittent psychosis. You should go to a psychiatric hospital. After all, they are more authoritative. Although I'm a neurologist, I mostly treat mental illnesses. Huamin earnestly advised the patient. But I don't think I'm mentally ill. Maybe they misdiagnosed me. Our neighbor's child has depression. I heard that it's a very difficult disease to treat, but after being treated by you for almost a month, he's already getting better. I wanted to try and see if you could help me. Judging from the woman's current attitude and logical thinking, she didn't seem like a mental patient at all. Huamin more or less knew that intermittent psychosis was an occasional attack. People with intermittent psychosis were troublesome because they didn't know when it would happen. People with intermittent psychosis were like ticking time bombs. Huamin looked up at her and said, I can help you, but I don't know exactly what you're like when you're ill. Patients with intermittent psychosis like you don't know when you're ill, so I can't keep waiting, right? That's not a solution. Although I don't know what I'm like when I'm ill, I heard from my husband that I recorded a short video of him. You can watch it. Maybe you'll understand after you watch it. Then, the woman took out her phone from her pocket. Chen-Jie looked at the woman cautiously, afraid that she would take something dangerous out of her bag. Chapter 1132. She took out a phone with a big screen, opened a video, and handed it to Huamin. A man was recording himself on his phone. He said, My wife's condition is like this. When she's sick, she thinks she's a 5-year-old girl, and she even has a name. She calls herself Nancy, and then she does things like a 5-year-old girl. She doesn't remember who she is, and she likes to eat lollipops. When she sees me, she calls me uncle, and she cries. Sometimes, when she's riding a bicycle, she suddenly falls down, saying that she's just a child and doesn't know how to ride a bicycle. This really brings a lot of inconvenience to our lives. My mother once suspected that she was possessed by a ghost. Because my wife accidentally got pregnant due to work, she secretly aborted the baby. Later, when she wanted to have another child, she couldn't. More than a year later, she suddenly became like this. I don't know if that child came to take revenge, but it didn't work. After watching this video, Huamin sucked in a breath of cold air. That's basically what happened. My husband said that every time I'm sick, I'm like a child, as if I'm possessed by a ghost. It's very scary, but I don't feel anything at all. After watching this video, Huamin slowly placed his phone on the table. You're indeed not possessed by a ghost. In fact, you're not suffering from intermittent mental illness, Huamin slowly said. Then, what is it? The woman was obviously stunned for a moment. If I'm not wrong, your condition should be called dissociative identity disorder. It means that you have two souls living in one body. Your other personality is that of a little girl. If I'm not wrong, you probably felt guilty after the abortion. Later, when you wanted a child, you couldn't. You were anxious, so you created a little girl for yourself and lived in your body. This is actually a type of illusion, but you forced this illusion on yourself. That's right. There was a time when I really wanted a baby. I was under a lot of pressure. I drank a lot of Chinese medicine and saw a lot of doctors. I tried a lot of folk methods, but none of them worked. I couldn't sleep. Sometimes, when I fell asleep, I would dream that I was pregnant and gave birth. The woman seemed a little emotional as she grabbed Huamin's hand. Xianxia immediately rushed over, took her hand away and pushed her back. Madam, please calm down and keep your distance from our director. After all, the patient was a mental patient, so the assistant was very concerned about Huamin's safety. In your situation, drugs alone won't do. You need to find a good psychologist to hypnotize you, to make you feel better and get rid of the extra personality in your body. Then what should we do? Chief Hua, if you can cure me, money won't be a problem. The woman was pleasantly surprised. It's not about money. The key is that I don't have that much time to treat you every day, and I can't hypnotize you. I'm not a psychological hypnotist, but I can find someone to help you, but you have to cooperate with us. Okay, I'll do it. After prescribing some sedatives for the patient, the assistant, Xianxia, sent the patient away. Huamin called Jiang Xiaowei and asked her to introduce a reliable psychological hypnotist to her. If Xiaowei wasn't pregnant, Huamian would definitely be able to do it. However, now that Xiaowei was pregnant, it was impossible for her to come into contact with mental patients. Even when she went out to buy groceries, she needed 4 bodyguards. The Wei family really invested a lot. Apparently, the 2 elders of the Wei family said that if Jiang Xiaowei gave birth to a daughter, they would give her a mansion worth tens of millions of yuan. If she gave birth to a son, they would give her a mansion worth hundreds of millions of yuan. It was obvious how important a son was to a rich family. Although men and women were equal, there had always been a preference for boys over girls. Saturday morning, Qin Chu and Huamin both changed into their school uniforms and drove to Second High. It was the peak time for students to go to school in the morning. Huamin had a ponytail and wore a black miniskirt with black leggings underneath. She wore a high-quality cashmere coat on top of her school uniform. She looked extremely youthful and beautiful. Qin Chu also wore a black cashmere coat for boys. Both of them carried single-shoulder backpacks. In an instant, it was as if they had traveled back in time to 7 years ago. Hey, which class are you 2 from? If you don't go in, you'll be late. Hurry up. The old man at the door yelled fiercely. Huamin and Qin Chu looked at each other and smiled. Then they ran in together. Chapter 1133. When Huamin and Qin Chu walked in, they were assigned to different classes by the principal because they wanted to experience life. Therefore, they really treated them like high school students and blended into the group. Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling were the same. Apparently, there were 10 successful people who came back this time. Other than the 4 of them, 6 other people came back and were assigned to different classes. Huamin was assigned to sophomore class 8. Apparently, this was the elite class, the experimental class of high school. Qin Chu was assigned to senior year 5, and Gao Ran was assigned to senior year 9. Zhu Lingling, on the other hand, was a little more pitiful. She was in senior year 2 with a bunch of juniors who hadn't even been in school for a semester. She left high school for 7 years. Now that she came back like this, it was truly amazing. When the sophomore year 8 homeroom teacher walked in with Huamin, they attracted the curious gazes of the 30 or so people in the class. Huamin didn't want to reveal her identity, so she wore black-rimmed glasses to cover it up. Students, this is a transfer student from another school. She's only here for 1 day, so please take good care of her. Hey, pretty girl, which school are you from? A naughty boy asked fearlessly. Huamin pursed her lips and smiled, but she didn't answer. Okay, stop talking nonsense and start studying. There's a math mock exam in a bit, the homeroom teacher said. Everyone was sighing in despair. High school life was really like they were test machines. Basically, there was a small exam every 3 days, a big exam every 5 days, plus a weekly exam, a monthly exam, a midterm exam, and the damn final exam. Therefore, people who didn't study hard in high school and only dated, didn't they have the nerve to waste their time? Huamin was assigned to sit in the 3rd row by the homeroom teacher. Beside her was a chubby boy with glasses. Coming back to 17 was a secret event. Other than the school and the participants, no one else knew about it. Therefore, the other students thought that they were really students. Most students didn't care about who the president of GK was or young Master Su of Imperial Star Entertainment. In the eyes of most of these children, there was only school, reading, self-study, and some little psychological thoughts. It was Huamin's first day back home. Everything was new to him, and there were only a few books in his bag. Hey, classmate, which classmate are you from? Xinhua High School. Huamin made up a random story. Xinhua? My family also has relatives who go to school there. Which class are you in? The little fatty persisted. Huamin suddenly had an idea and made a shushing gesture. Hurry up and study. The teacher will be here soon. Okay. As expected, the little fatty was convinced by Huamin with just 1 sentence. Then he lowered his head and started to read. Why do you want to come to our class? Don't you know that we are the experimental class? In a while, when we do the paper, we will all score 90 points. If only she scores 60 points, won't it be very ugly? Some girls whispered. The girls in the experimental class had a strong sense of superiority, so they didn't welcome Huamin, who was an outsider. Don't talk. Once the results come out, she will know how to embarrass herself. A few girls were studying it in low voices. Huamin didn't say anything. He took out a book and pretended to read. Then he secretly took out his phone and sent Qin Chu a WeChat message. Mr. Qin, what's the situation on your end? I'm going to start my exam soon. Qin Chu didn't have time to reply to Huamin's WeChat message. Grade 12 Class 5 was about to explode. A handsome guy came to their class. He was so good-looking that he couldn't be any prettier. Celebrities and little fresh meats were nothing compared to him. The homeroom teacher had just arranged a seat for Qin Chu when he sat down. All the girls in the class swarmed over. Handsome, which school are you from? Chapter 1134. Handsome, are you really only staying for 1 day? Why is it only 1 day? Stay, our second high is great. Yeah, our second high is the best high school in the city. Did you know that? The most famous one is GK's president, Qin Chu, and his wife, Huamin, graduated from our school. Handsome, did you not bring your notes? I can lend them to you, I have a few. Hey, if you're not used to sitting here, I can ask the teacher to change your seat. You can sit in the front with me, it's closer to the blackboard. The girls crowded around him, and Qin Chu didn't know what to do. It was his first time pretending to be a high school student at the age of 27. 8, but he didn't feel out of place at all. He was even younger than many of the boys in his class, leaving him no room to maneuver. Hey, what's your name? Qin Ran. Qin Chu paused for a second, and then stole Gao Ran's name. Huamin, on the other hand, changed her name to Hua Lingling. Zhu Lingling had no choice but to give herself a superstar name, Zhu Huiwan. Gao Ran changed his name to Qin Chu and said his name was Gao Chu. These high school kids were indeed naive. They actually believed him. Qin Chu was surrounded by a group of girls and didn't have time to reply to Huamin's WeChat. Gao Ran was like a fish in water in grade 12 class 9. He played a game of basketball with his classmates as soon as he entered the class. He befriended many boys and charmed a bunch of girls. Zhu Lingling, on the other hand, felt rather awkward. She took off her jacket and prepared to study seriously. She took off her jacket and was about to take off her jacket when she heard a boy behind her ask in a low voice, "Are you really a high school student? Is there a problem?" Zhu Lingling turned around and asked him, "You're developing well." The boy glanced at Zhu Lingling's with a faint smile. She was so angry that she rolled up her English book and smacked the boy's head. Not everyone had a 34D, okay? It was clearly an advantage, but why was he being mocked in school? Besides, even 7 years ago, her breasts weren't small. They had always been bigger than Huamin's. At that time, she often joked that Huamin was the little princess of Taiping. Huamin, on the other hand, respectfully addressed her as Sister Cow. Thinking back to those incomparably happy and incomparably stupid days back then, it was actually quite good. If it weren't for this opportunity, perhaps they really wouldn't have been able to regain their youth. Math exams were deadly for many girls. This was because there were very few girls who were good at math. On the other hand, boys were more interested in things like blood transfusions and physics. Girls usually excelled in languages, history, and politics. Huamin's class was not only an experimental class, it was also a science class. Back then, she had also been randomly assigned. She had never thought that she would end up in such an elite class. Fortunately, it was her. If it were Lingling, she would probably have a headache. After a math exam, Huamin felt no pressure at all. Not only did she hand in her paper early, but she also went out for a walk, walking a big circle around the field. It was a great feeling. During lunch break, all the students went to the cafeteria for lunch. In order to pretend that they didn't know each other, they couldn't sit at the same table and had to sit separately. After Huamin got her lunch, she saw Qin Chu surrounded by a group of girls from afar. "This is crazy. It wasn't like this back in school," Huamin said sourly. Just then, a boy sat down across from her. "Hi." The boy greeted her. Huamin glanced at him. He seemed to be in the same class as her. Chapter 11:35. "Hi." Huamin greeted him. "The food in the cafeteria is pretty good. You should eat more, or else you'll be hungry in the afternoon," the boy reminded him. "Thank you." Not far away, Qin Chu got up and inadvertently glanced over. He saw Huamin and a boy sitting across from each other, chatting and laughing. He couldn't sit still anymore. He got up and pushed through the crowd, walking over with food in his hands. Along the way, he attracted a lot of screams and onlookers. "Can you get up for a second?" Qin Chu looked at the boy and asked, "Why should I?" The boy seemed very reluctant. "Because I want to eat with her." Qin Chu glanced at Huamin. "I want to eat with her too." The boy didn't seem to want to back down. Qin Chu took out a meal card from his pocket and threw it on the table with a smack. "There's a balance of 5,000 yuan here. You can take it and get out of my way." Seeing the 5,000 yuan meal card, the boy was stunned. What did a 5,000 yuan meal card mean? Even if he ate braised meatballs and sweet and sour carp every day, he wouldn't be overloaded. Deal. The boy picked up the meal card and immediately ran away. Qin Chu strutted over and sat across from Huamin. "Students these days are so spineless." Huamin smiled and sighed. Then she looked at Qin Chu and smiled. "Hey rich guy, can you give me one? I can get out of here right away." "Honey, don't mess around." Qin Chu was full of love. "Chu, lower your voice. Don't let anyone hear you. We're exchange students now, so we don't know each other." Qin Chu couldn't help but smile at Huamin. "You're so into character." On the other hand, Zhu Lingling was very popular. Because of her big breasts and pretty face, she successfully became the prettiest girl in class too. She was loved by her juniors. However, when she occasionally stuttered when answering the teacher's questions, she wasn't very good. Gao Ran, on the other hand, was not only a straight-A student, but also a sportsman. He was proficient in basketball and table tennis. Zhu Lingling looked at him and said sourly, "This idiot. Why didn't he just go to the gym? Why did he come here?" In the end, Gao Ran retorted bluntly, "I really want to fuck a stupid bird like you. I'm going to skin you alive." Hey, pay attention to your image. You're the prettiest girl in class too, Gao Ran reminded her. Zhu Lingling immediately put away her violent image and smiled. "I won't lower myself to your level." The fact that Qin Chu and Huamin were having a meal together attracted a lot of students' opinions, especially the girls from grade 12 class 5. They were so angry that their eyes turned red. "Isn't that girl also an exchange student? She doesn't look that good. Why should our handsome guy eat with her? Maybe they know each other." Someone guessed. Huamin endured the pressure and finished his lunch. Then he ran away with his tail between his legs. He wanted to go back to his classroom in the corner, but he didn't expect to run into someone he knew by the stairs. Wei Dong. If they didn't run into each other this time, Huamin would have almost forgotten about Wei Dong. Back at Lu Xing's wedding, the two of them had an argument. Huamin didn't help him, so Wei Dong had a falling out with him. So, when they met, Huamin was only surprised for a second and didn't plan on speaking. The Wei family was a nouveau riche, so it wasn't surprising that Wei Dong came back to experience life. There was also a young girl by his side. It seemed like he just got her. The two of them were chatting in a quiet place. Wei Dong had always been good at flirting with girls. However, he didn't expect to see Huamin here. "You? Too?" Wei Dong didn't finish his sentence because he remembered that this was confidential. Yeah. Huamin nodded, but his attitude was very distant. Then, Huamin turned around and was about to go upstairs. He called out to her. "What's up? I'm sorry about last time. I was too impulsive. Last time? I'm sorry, I don't remember." Then, Huamin turned around and went upstairs. "Hey, you know her?" The young girl looked at Wei Dong and asked. "Oh, she's my neighbor." Wei Dong made up a story. The first class in the afternoon was still math. Their homeroom teacher was also a math teacher. She walked in with a thick stack of papers. "I'm so nervous, they're about to announce the morning's results," a classmate beside her whispered. Huamin quietly looked at the blackboard. His expression was extremely calm. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.